Hello everyone, I am Nidhi Sharma and I welcome you to Economics Decoction where I share the essence of economics. So in the previous videos we have discussed about the overview of the utility analysis where we discussed that there are two approaches to analyze the utility. So it is the cardinal approach and the ordinal approach to utility analysis. So we have already discussed about the cardinal approach to utility analysis in our previous video. So this video is dedicated to the ordinal approach to utility analysis. Now the ordinal approach to utility analysis has basically two parts. The first one is the indifference curve analysis and the second one is the revealed preference theory. So this video is dedicated to the indifference curve analysis and I'm going to come up with a separate video dedicated to the revealed preference theory. So stay tuned to know everything about the indifference curve analysis, as in this video I'm going to teach you everything about the IC analysis. So make sure that you watch this video till the end, and if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to the channel because here I share many important videos related to economics concepts which are very helpful for your undergraduation, post-graduation, for various competitive examinations and also for your NTA UGC NET JRF in economics. Okay, so if you have not joined our Telegram channel, make sure that you join the Telegram channel as well. The link of which is provided here. The name of the Telegram channel is Economics Decoction. And I also provide my classes at Unacademy. So if you want, you can definitely follow my profile on Unacademy. It is by the name Nidhi Sharma. I conduct live free classes for NTA, UGC, NET, JRF and economics. So yeah, it's always a good thing to watch the classes and learn the concept well so that you can perform in a better way in your examinations. So you can definitely come to Unacademy, join my live free classes and learn from me where I teach in bilingual languages. मैं हिंदी में भी क्लासेस कंडक्ट करवाती हूँ और इंग्लिश में भी क्लासेस कंडक्ट करवाती हूँ. So I teach the concepts along with PYQs analysis. मैं PYQs भी solve करवाती हूँ and I teach you how to attempt the examination in the best possible way, and we try to learn the concepts by solving the previous year questions as well. Okay, so if you want any subscription at Unacademy, you can definitely use my code, that is NSNET, and you will get 10% discount on all your subscription charges at Unacademy. So please do not forget to use this code, that is NSNET, and get a flat 10% discount on all your subscription charges at Unacademy. I'm going to provide the links to my Unacademy profile, of my Telegram channel, and also the links of my previous videos in the description box. So please make sure to check the description box out as well. Now starting with the content of this video, that is the ordinal approach to utility analysis. So originally the ordinal approach to utility analysis was introduced by Sir Pareto. Okay, in 1906. Satisfaction cannot be measured in absolute numbers. As you remember, in the cardinal approach, we were discussing that satisfaction can be measured in absolute numbers, and the standard unit of measuring the satisfaction of a consumer is utils. But the ordinal approach argued that no, satisfaction cannot be measured in absolute numbers. Rather, the satisfactions can be ranked in order of preferences. So definitely I can rank my satisfaction in order of preferences. I can definitely say that by eating one chocolate, I got some level of satisfaction. But by eating the second chocolate, I got a little more satisfaction. So I can rank my level of satisfaction according to my preferences. This is the idea of the ordinal approach. So indifference curve analysis, this is basically an approach to ordinal utility analysis. So the indifference curve analysis, which was earlier developed by Sir Edgeworth in 1881, later on Pareto was the first one who drew these indifference curves. So who was the first one to draw the indifference curves? It was Sir Pareto. Then later on in the year 1934, Sir Hicks and RGD Allen published their comprehensive work based upon Edgeworth, Pareto, and Slutsky in the year 1934. Okay, so this was the background of the ordinal approach and the indifference curve analysis. And now let's understand what ordinal approach argues. Ordinal approach postulates that a consumer cannot measure the satisfaction that he or she derives from the consumption of a particular goods or services. Further, it asserts that measurement of satisfaction in specific units is not required. That's what has been argued, that satisfaction cannot be given, it cannot be measured in absolute numbers as it used to be done in the cardinal utility analysis. Rather, satisfactions can be ranked in order of preferences. So, in fact, a consumer ranks different goods and services as per his or her preferences. In other words, it asserts that a consumer takes his consumption decisions on the basis of the ranks assigned in the order of his or her preferences. So basically, consumer decides upon how much consumption has to be done, which good has to be consumed on the basis of the ranking that he or she provides according to the preferences. So in the ordinal utility, consumer is capable of simply comparing the different levels of satisfaction but not counting them. That means the satisfaction levels are not countable, rather they are just ranked in order of preferences. So I hope that the overview of the ordinal approach, the basic idea of the ordinal approach is clear to you. And now we proceed further to the indifference curve analysis. So what is indifference curve analysis all about? First of all, the IC, that means indifference curve, was invented by Sir Edgeworth. But he shows only the possibility of exchange between two goods but did not explain the consumer demand. So two economists, Hicks and Allen, they criticized Marshall's cardinal utility to explain consumer behavior, because in cardinal approach we were arguing that the satisfaction that we derive by consuming a particular goods or service can be provided an absolute number. It can be measured in terms of an absolute number. But in practical life, in real life, this is quite it does not make some sense, right? How can we provide a particular number to our level of satisfaction? So that's why ordinal approach a little more realistic. So in 1939, Hicks reproduced IC, that means indifference curve, in his book Value and Capital. So the name of the book that was given by Hicks was Value and Capital. So the principle of IC is based on the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Now you must be wondering, what is diminishing marginal rate of substitution? You have to wait for a few minutes and watch this video till the end, because I'm going to let you know what is diminishing marginal rate of substitution. So the IC approach is based on the ordinal utility analysis. Now, indifference curve represents all those combination of goods and services which gives same level of satisfaction to the consumer. So one IC represents a same level of satisfaction that is derived by consumption of various units of a particular goods and service. All the combination of indifference curve gives equal satisfaction to the consumer. Okay. So equal satisfaction has been represented by an indifference curve. So in this schedule, you can see we have four combinations: combination A, combination B, combination C, and combination D. In combination A, we have number of apples is 1 and the number of oranges is 10. So the same thing has been plotted in this graph, where combination A shows 10 units of oranges and 1 unit of apple. Similar is the case for combination B, C and D, which represents 2 units of apples and 7 units of oranges, 3 units of apples and 5 units of oranges, and 4 units of apples and 4 units of oranges. And they have been plotted on a 2-axis graph. And as you can see, A, B, C and D has been plotted in a 2-axis graph, and this gives us our indifference curve. Okay, and this indifference curve shows the equal level of satisfaction that a consumer derives by consuming these specific units of oranges and apples. So point A, point B, point C, point D, all these combinations represents equal level of satisfaction. That means the level of satisfaction derived by a consumer at combination A would be same as the level of satisfaction derived by him at combination B, C and D. So the level of satisfactions at point combination A, B, C and D all are equal. Okay, I hope that the concept of equal satisfaction is clear to you. And now we proceed further to the indifference map. Now, what is indifference map? Indifference map is a set of different individual indifference curves. So the various indifference curves that we have, if we plot them on a particular graph, we get indifference map. Higher is the IC shows higher level of satisfaction. So a higher indifference curve shows us a higher level of satisfaction. ICs, that means indifference curves, need not be parallel, and please remember indifference curves never intersect each other. So the indifference curves can never intersect each other. This diagram shows us the indifference map where we have four indifference curves marked as IC1, IC2, IC3 and IC4. Now, the concept of marginal rate of substitution, which I was talking about just a few minutes back. So, what is marginal rate of substitution? It is the rate at which the consumer is prepared to exchange good X and good Y is known as marginal rate of substitution. If the consumer increases the consumption of one good, he must decrease or give up the consumption of the other good. So the IC approach is based upon the concept of marginal rate of substitution. The idea of marginal rate of substitution leads to a downward sloping convex shape of the indifference curve. Okay, so marginal rate of substitution between x and y can be represented as delta y divided by delta x. That means change in y divided by change in x. So sacrifice or loss is generally shown on the y-axis and the gain is shown on the x-axis. This is a general framework how we draw an indifference curve. Now this schedule shows us the marginal rate of substitution between x and y. Let's say in combination A we have good x, that means the number of apples as 1, and good y, that is number of oranges as 10 units. So here the marginal rate of substitution is absolutely nothing, 0. But when we move to combination B, suppose a consumer has shifted from combination A to combination B, and in combination B the consumer consumes number of apples as 2 and number of oranges as 7. So what is our marginal rate of substitution between x and y? That means between apples and oranges, it is 3. Do you know why is it so? Because you can see here the difference. Here 10 minus 7 is equals to 3. And here 2 minus 1 is equals to 1. So if we plot minus 3 divided by 1, we get it as minus 3. Okay, so this shows us the marginal rate of substitution between apples and oranges. So the slope of the IC, the slope of the indifference curve represents the marginal rate of substitution. So it is represented as delta y divided by delta x, that means change in y divided by change in x, which is minus 3 by 1, which gives us minus 3. Alright. So why is it a minus symbol? Why do we have a minus symbol here? Because our indifference curve is downward sloping or it is negatively sloped. A consumer is willing to sacrifice 3 units of good y for 1 more unit of good x. So this is the interpretation of marginal rate of substitution. A consumer is willing to sacrifice 3 units of good y for 1 more unit of good x. Now we move on to the properties of the indifference curve. The indifference curve slopes downward to the right. This is the first and the most important property of indifference curve. IC being downward sloping means that when consumption of one good increases, the consumption of other good decreases. This leads to a downward sloping indifference curve. Okay? But the satisfaction at level A would be same as satisfaction at level B, which we have already discussed in the previous slides. The indifference curves are convex to the origin. IC is convex because of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Yes, learners, please remember this thing very clearly in your mind that IC, that means indifference curve, is convex, and the main reason for this convexity of indifference curve is the application of marginal rate of substitution. That is diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Okay? As we move on towards the rightward side of the indifference curve, the MRS or the marginal rate of substitution goes on diminishing, and this gives us a convex shape of the indifference curve. Two indifference curves cannot intersect each other. This is a very important property of indifference curve because here you can see in the diagram we have point combination A, combination B and combination C. We have three combinations. Okay. So satisfaction level at combination A would be same as satisfaction level at combination B or point B, because point A and point B both lie on the same indifference curve, that is on IC1. So by that rule of same level of satisfaction, we can say that satisfaction at level A would be same as satisfaction at level B. But we can observe here that point A and point C both are on IC2 as well. So point A is the common point between IC1 and IC2. Thus, we can say that satisfaction level at A is equals to satisfaction level at C, because both point A and point C lie on IC2 and each IC shows equal level of satisfaction. Thus, we can conclude from here that satisfaction level at A is equal to satisfaction level at B is equals to satisfaction level at C. But this is not at all possible. How can satisfaction level at B be equal to satisfaction level at C? Point B is on IC1, that's on a lower IC, while point C is on a higher indifference curve, that means it is on IC2. So by the rule, we know that higher IC represents higher level of satisfaction. So thus, satisfaction level at point C should be greater than satisfaction at point B, right? But what can we see here? Satisfaction at A is equals to B is equals to C. This completely violates the property of indifference curve. Thus, we can conclude that two indifference curves can never intersect each other. All right. A higher indifference curve represents a higher level of satisfaction. All right. So here we have IC1 and IC2. IC2 is a higher indifference curve and we have point B at IC2. So thus we can conclude that satisfaction at point B would be higher than satisfaction at point A, because point B is on a higher indifference curve, that is, it is on IC2. So point B offers greater amount of good X even when the amount of good Y remains the same. So it must yield a higher level of satisfaction. So you can see good Y is 5 for both combination A as well as combination B. But combination B or point B gives a higher level of good X, that means 6 units of good X. So thus we can say that point B shows a higher level of satisfaction, because here we can get more of good X, more of good X. Okay, 6 units of good X. Now we will understand what are the various shapes of indifference curve. So what will be the shape of indifference curve in case of perfect substitute goods? First, we need to understand that marginal rate of substitution for substitute goods is 1. Okay, so if X and Y are substitute goods, so their marginal rate of substitution would be 1. So the degree of convexity of an indifference curve depends upon the rate of fall in the marginal rate of X for Y. When two goods are perfect substitutes to each other, the indifference curve is a straight line, as it has been shown in this figure. You can definitely say that apple juice is a substitute of orange juice. So since apple juice and orange juice both are substitute goods, so the indifference curve is a downward sloping straight line. So greater the MRS, that means greater would be the marginal rate of substitution, greater would be the convexity of the indifference curve. Please remember, it's a very important concept. So in perfect substitute goods, MRS, that means marginal rate of substitution between X and Y, which are substitute goods, is equals to 1. Fine? Okay. Now what would be the shape of indifference curve for perfect complements? In case of perfect complements, the marginal rate of substitution would be 0, and this yields us an L-shaped indifference curve. Left shoe and right shoe both are complementary to each other. We cannot walk by wearing just one shoe. We need to wear shoes on both our feet. So that's why they are complementary goods. So when two goods are perfect complementary, then IC becomes straight line with a right angle bent which is convex to the origin. Alright, so L-shaped indifference curve shows us that the two goods are perfect complementary. In perfect complementary goods, marginal rate of substitution between X and Y is equals to 0. MRS would be 0. Then we have indifference curve for bad goods and good goods. Okay. So in case of bad commodity, IC shifts backward. IC will shift backward in case of bad goods. Alright. Okay. So in case of bad commodity, IC shifts backward. So here in the diagram, we can see we have two goods. One is clothing and the other one is pollution. Clothing is a normal good while pollution is a bad good. So we can see here was IC1 and it has shifted backward and it shifted to IC2. Further, it shifted backwards and went to IC3, and the process continues of backward shifting because pollution is a bad good. So that's the reason why for a bad commodity the IC shifts backward, because we reduce the consumption of a bad good. That's the reason why the IC shifts backward. Now we have indifference curve in case of neutral goods. What would be the shape of indifference curve in case of neutral goods? As you can see that when X good is a neutral, then IC is horizontal. Because here X is a neutral while Y is a normal good. So that's the reason why whichever axis measures the neutral good, the indifference curve is going to be parallel to that axis. Okay, so in this figure, in the second figure, we can definitely say that good Y is a neutral good. That's the reason why the indifference curves are parallel to the Y axis. Okay, so that was all about indifference curve analysis. I hope that the concepts that has been taught to you in this video is clear to you. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to come up with many important videos related to economics which are very important for your upcoming examinations. Also join the Telegram channel, and yes, do follow my profile on Unacademy and attend my live classes for UGC NET, GRF in economics, and I'm going to and this is my promise to you that those classes are going to be very helpful for your preparation. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do subscribe to the channel, and yes, do not forget to check the description box out as well, because you have many important links given there. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon in my next video. Till then, keep studying.